Set in 1981, a mother named Dulce wakes up from unconsciousness with a cut on her cheek surrounded by shattered pieces of glass. She has no idea what just happened. Holding a large shard as a weapon, she walks through the house, searching for her son Leopoldo and her husband Juan Jose, but neither of them is anywhere to be found. Eventually, she makes her way down to the basement, and there she finds Jose lying on the ground with a knife stuck in his shoulder. For a brief moment, he regains consciousness and grabs Dulce's shoulder, sending her into panic, before dying right in front of her. Not long after, Dulce spots her son Leopoldo standing at the end of a hallway. She desperately tries to reach him, asking who attacked their home and calling him into her arms. But Leopoldo just stands there in silence, until suddenly an unseen force pulls him into a room. Dulce rushes after him and uses a key to open the door, only to discover it leads to a deeper part of the basement. She continues searching for him, praying for his safety, but strangely, there is no one there. And this is where it begins. This is the house at the end of time. Based on the evidence and the fingerprints found on the knife, Dulce is accused of murdering both her husband and her son. She is sentenced to life in prison, even though Leopoldo's body is never found, with only traces of his blood left behind. 30 years later, in November 2011, an older Dulce is finally released under house arrest. She is taken back to her old home, now abandoned and worn down. Her lawyer has arranged everything, cleaning the place, preparing food, and restoring the electricity and water. As she steps inside, memories of her past life come flooding back, including the realization that she once had two sons, Leopoldo and his younger brother Rodrigo. Soon after, a priest named Parrish arrives for a visit. He often gives sermons in the area and believes Dulce was never responsible for what happened 30 years ago. Dulce then brings him down to the basement, the last place she saw Leopoldo before he was dragged away by something unseen. When Parrish asks what really happened and who could have done such a terrible thing, Dulce explains that ever since her family moved into that house, they had been experiencing strange and unexplainable events. Because of that, she is convinced that whatever killed her husband and took her son did not come from outside, but from the house itself. The story then flashes back to when Leopoldo and Rodrigo were still kids, spending their days playing with friends. They joke around, fooling with balloons and causing harmless trouble for people heading off to work. At the same time, Rodrigo secretly has a crush on his friend Sarai. This becomes a problem between the brothers. Leopoldo does not like the idea of his younger brother acting grown up over a crush, especially at such a young age. Their teasing quickly turns into a real argument, and they even end up fighting. Later that night, they come home late, fully expecting to be punished by Dulce for losing track of time, especially with schoolwork waiting. Surprisingly, Dulce is in a relatively good mood. She only scolds Leopoldo, reminding him that he should set a good example for his younger brother. Leopoldo apologizes and expresses how much he loves his mother, then asks for food because he is hungry. Unfortunately, Dulce has nothing to give. Their food supplies are gone, and their financial situation is getting worse. Trying to comfort him, Dulce gives Leopoldo a small piece from her ring, a white stone he can hold whenever he feels afraid. She also prays for him, hoping he will grow into a strong and blessed person and achieve his dream of becoming a professional baseball player. Not long after, Jose returns home from work. Dulce shares her worries about not being able to provide enough for their children. Jose reassures her, saying he has brought groceries for the next week and promises to find a better job soon. After that, he steps out again, and Dulce locks her bedroom door. Suddenly, someone begins rattling the door handle. Not just in Dulce's room, but also in Rodrigo's. Leopoldo is still in another room doing his homework. At first, Dulce assumes it is Jose, but when she looks out the window, she sees him walking outside on the street. Rodrigo becomes terrified. It is not just the door handle moving, there are strange, unsettling sounds, and the door starts shaking violently. Meanwhile, Dulce's bedroom door slowly opens on its own. She looks into the hallway, but no one is there. Then out of nowhere, a hand appears and tries to grab her head. As she attempts to stab it with scissors, the hand suddenly vanishes. In Rodrigo's room, the door also opens, and the candle goes out instantly. He hides under his blanket, trembling. Through the thin fabric, he sees the silhouette of a small figure entering the room and moving closer to him. At the same time, Leopoldo, who has just left the study room, hears his brother screaming and briefly catches a glimpse of something entering another room. Panicking, Dulce grabs a knife, convinced there is an intruder in the house. She first checks on Leopoldo, who insists he was not the one screaming. Then she runs to Rodrigo's room, and thankfully, he is still safe. The next morning, Dulce and Jose call the police and report what happened to a detective. Dulce struggles to explain anything clearly since she never actually saw who or what was inside the house. She believes her children witnessed something, but they are too scared to say anything. Jose also explains that he had gone out the night before to clear his head at a nearby coffee stall. The detective asks about the history of the house and who owned it before, but neither Dulce nor Jose knows much. All they are certain of is that the house had been abandoned for a long time, and Jose bought it from the government 5 years earlier at a very low price. Before leaving, the detective hands them his card, telling them to call any time if they need help. Later, while Dulce is still in the kitchen, shaken by what happened the night before, Leopoldo finally approaches her. He explains that someone came to him during the night, and because of that, he will no longer be able to play with Rodrigo. He also passes along a small piece of paper that the figure told him to give to his mother. Dulce is shocked when she reads what is written on it. She quickly hides the paper as soon as Jose walks in. The story then shifts back to the present. From the orphanage, Father Parrish heads to the city library, trying to uncover the history of the house where Dulce once lived. What he finds is disturbing. Families who lived there before also disappeared under mysterious circumstances in 1921 and again in 1951. It becomes clear that something strange happens in that house every 30 years, just like Leopoldo's disappearance in 1981. Parrish digs deeper into older records and eventually comes across a book titled The Eye of the Great Architect. It reveals that the house was built in 1890 by a man named Ibrahim Eckhart, and it features a distinct single-eye ornament at the front. Meanwhile, back at the house, Dulce goes into the bathroom and suddenly sees the figure of an old man behind her, holding a knife. She immediately shuts the door, and once she feels safe, she calls for the police officers assigned to guard her. But when she returns to her room, she notices something even stranger. The mirror is covered with the number 11, and suddenly a hand appears and grabs her shoulder. Terrified, Dulce locks herself in her room as the same horrifying events from 30 years ago begin to repeat. The door starts shaking violently, as if something is trying to break in. She panics, but fortunately the police arrive. Even so, they dismiss her claims, assuming she is unstable for saying she saw a ghost. Not long after, Father Parrish arrives. Dulce tells him about the old man with the knife who tried to attack her. In response, Parrish shows her an article about the house's original owner, Ibrahim, a man from England. Strangely, not only Ibrahim, but also his descendants and later occupants of the house all disappeared without a trace. Dulce then continues sharing the strange events her family experienced 30 years earlier. After one of the terrifying nights, she became convinced that something evil lived inside the house. She shows Jose the paper that Leopoldo had given her, and the message written on it reveals something horrifying, that Juan Jose will kill his own son, Leopoldo. Jose refuses to believe it, dismissing it as nonsense. He cannot accept the idea that he would ever harm his own child. But Dulce is overwhelmed with fear. She wants to leave the house, take both children with her, and end the marriage. This leads to a heated argument. Jose, equally emotional, tells her she is free to go, but the children will stay with him. Desperate, Dulce seeks help from a psychic named Victoria, who is assisted by her sister. Victoria is blind due to an accident years earlier, but her sister believes that incident allowed her to exist between the world of the living and the spirit world. Once everything is prepared, the paper from the spirit is burned, and Dulce is instructed to close her eyes. She must keep them shut and only listen once Victoria connects with the spirit, because if she opens them, the spirit will disappear. The ritual begins. As Dulce closes her eyes, the air suddenly turns cold. A door can be heard opening, and the presence of the old man with the knife returns. At the same time, Victoria appears to channel something deeply disturbing, as if she is reliving a moment where Leopoldo is pleading for his life in front of his father. The experience is overwhelming, and Dulce completely breaks down in fear. At the same time, Rodrigo gives Sarai a small gift, a white decorative ball that he secretly took from his brother Leopoldo. Even though he is still just a child, Rodrigo boldly kisses her on the cheek, and from that moment on, Sarai starts to see him as her boyfriend. Leopoldo, who witnesses all of this, feels jealous. To break the moment, he quickly invites them to play baseball. But his frustration does not go away. During the game, he keeps teasing Rodrigo, trying to throw him off. Despite that, Rodrigo plays well. Then comes the turning point. When it is Rodrigo's turn to pitch, Leopoldo swings the bat with full force. The ball flies straight into Rodrigo, striking him hard and causing his head to hit a rock. The other kids are left in shock, especially Leopoldo, as they realize Rodrigo has died. Rodrigo's funeral is held on November 11th. Everyone is devastated by the sudden loss, especially Dulce, Jose, and Leopoldo, along with all of his friends. It feels as if the message Leopoldo received from the spirit was true all along, that he would never be able to play with Rodrigo again. After that, Leopoldo turns to his closest friend Guillermo, someone he sees as a brother. He clings to him, afraid of being left alone, and the two share a meaningful handshake that becomes their own unique bond. Back in the present, Father Parrish reflects on the repeated number 11 that Dulce saw written on the mirror. He begins to realize that it is not random, but a specific point in time. Acting on this realization, he rushes to Dulce's house, only to find her on the verge of doing something irreversible. He manages to stop her just in time. Dulce is overwhelmed by everything she has endured. She has lost her entire family, spent 30 years imprisoned, been judged by everyone around her, and now the terror has returned. Yet she continues to hold on, driven by the belief that Leopoldo is still out there somewhere. Before leaving, Parrish gives her his necklace and tells her that something extraordinary will happen that very night, on November 11, 2011, at exactly 11:11 and 11 seconds. That night, right on time, the lights suddenly go out. And without even realizing it, Dulce is pulled back to the year 1981. At the same time, Leopoldo, from a point after Rodrigo's death, is also sent back in time to the days before the tragedy, during the night when the mysterious presence first appeared. Now, both past and future versions of Dulce and Leopoldo exist in the same timeline. The older Dulce, still unaware of what is happening, believes there is an intruder in the house and tries to fight it off, not realizing that the person she is attacking is her younger self. In other words, she is the very presence that haunted her family 30 years earlier. Meanwhile, the older Leopoldo is terrified as he encounters an elderly woman inside the house, not realizing at first that it is his own mother from the future. He eventually hides in Rodrigo's room, where he is stunned to see his brother alive. Overcome with emotion, he embraces him tightly. It is then revealed that the white decorative ball was not stolen at all, but given to Rodrigo by the older Leopoldo. And in that moment, he silently promises that he will protect his little brother no matter what. On the other side, the older Dulce finally realizes that she has been sent back 30 years into the past. She hides in the study room, where she comes face to face with the younger Leopoldo. There she reveals that she is his mother from the future. Surprisingly, the young Leopoldo believes her. Her appearance and voice are exactly the same as the mother he knows. For Dulce, this moment is overwhelming. She is finally seeing the son she has lost for 3 decades. She quickly warns him not to play with Rodrigo for the next 3 days, because she knows what is about to happen. She knows that Rodrigo will die during a baseball game caused by his own brother. Then she gives him a piece of paper with a message that must be delivered to his younger mother. Leopoldo is told not to read it. As we already know, the message reveals a terrifying truth, that Jose will kill his own son, Leopoldo. This is something Dulce already knows will unfold. After that, the older Dulce is pulled forward in time again, landing 3 days later, on the night after Rodrigo has died. In this moment, Jose, still grieving the loss of his son, accidentally discovers an old letter from Dulce's past affair. It reveals that Leopoldo is not his biological child. The letter even expresses confidence that Jose would still be a good father to him. This revelation pushes Jose over the edge. With Rodrigo gone, his only biological son, his grief turns into anger. He looks at Leopoldo differently now. Consumed by rage, he grabs a knife and goes after him. The younger Dulce tries to stop him, but Jose, completely out of control, strikes her across the face and slams her head into a mirror, knocking her unconscious. At the same time, the older Dulce finds herself confronted once again by the mysterious old man holding a knife. Terrified, she is led down into the basement, the very place where Leopoldo is destined to disappear. There, the truth is finally revealed. The old man is not a spirit at all. He is Leopoldo from the year 2071. Now, an old man, Leopoldo explains that the house has the power to move its inhabitants through time in a mysterious way, following its own will. That is why everyone who once lived there seemed to vanish. They did not disappear, they were simply displaced into different points in time. He also reveals why all of this must happen. The older Dulce is meant to save the younger Leopoldo, who is about to be killed by Jose. On top of that, Leopoldo carries a rare genetic illness. In 1981, there is no cure, but by 2011, a treatment has finally been discovered. This entire chain of events, as painful as it is part of a cycle that must happen. It is the only way for Leopoldo to survive, and it is the fate that Dulce must endure. Meanwhile, Jose continues chasing Leopoldo, who is desperately trying to escape. Eventually, Leopoldo runs into the basement, locking and blocking the door behind him. But it does not take long for Jose to break through. He manages to stab Leopoldo, and just as he is about to deliver the final blow, the older Dulce suddenly appears. Without hesitation, she attacks Jose and kills him. Following the request of the much older Leopoldo, Dulce makes the painful decision to take Jose's life in order to save her son. After that, she has no choice but to bring Leopoldo deeper into the basement. He must be taken to the year 2011, where a cure for his rare illness already exists. She pulls him down to the lowest level, and once the journey is complete, everything falls into place. The younger Dulce never finds Leopoldo in the basement because he is now trapped between time for the next 30 years. That is why, after that night, Dulce is arrested and sentenced to prison. From the world's perspective, she is the one who killed her husband, even though it was actually her future self who committed the act. The next morning, Dulce finally tells Parrish the full truth about what really happened 30 years ago. She explains everything, from killing Jose and leaving her fingerprints behind, to taking Leopoldo across time into 2011. Then she brings Parrish to see Leopoldo in a room, and he is completely shocked to find him alive. They greet each other with a familiar handshake, and the truth is revealed. Parrish is actually Guillermo, Leopoldo's childhood friend, the one who once promised he would never leave him. As Dulce requested, Parrish agrees to take Leopoldo to an orphanage, making it seem as though he had just escaped from there. Dulce knows that in her current state, she is no longer able to care for him. In the final moments, Dulce watches her son from a distance, filled with quiet happiness. On the way to the orphanage, something unexpected happens. They cross paths with a woman who is visibly shaken upon seeing Leopoldo, and he is just as surprised to see her. It turns out to be Sarai, now all grown up, still wearing the necklace with the white ornament that was once given by Rodrigo. So the moral of the story is, if your house is cheap, haunted, and comes with free time travel, maybe just move out instead of fighting your past self and accidentally causing your own problems.